Looking back on the week that was and forward to the week ahead. It's the Fantasy Football Hustle. Here are your hosts, Brian Drake and Dwain McFarland.
All across the fantasy universe, welcome to the Fantasy Football Hustle, powered by Pro Football Focus. I am your host, Brian Drake. Catch me on Twitter at Drake Fantasy and listen to me every Sunday night, 7 to 9 Eastern, as I host PFF Postgame on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. So after 3 weeks of the fantasy season, you're probably looking at your roster and thinking, all right, I got moves to make. I'm realizing my priors on these players might be wrong and I need to reevaluate. And if you're 0-3, this is no time to panic. We're going to talk about what we can do to get you back on track in a few minutes. But today I want to give my reaction to some things I saw in week 3 and highlight some players I'm targeting in deals and some others that I want to stay away from. I'll also hit you with my Hate the Drake segment where I break down players who broke your heart on Sunday. It's a lot of fun. You're definitely going to want to stick around and enjoy that one. But first, let's talk about the waiver wire and Sunday's injuries because holy smokes, there was a lot of them. Khalil Herbert is going to be the hottest name on the waiver wire this week, and for good reason. He came off the bench in relief of David Montgomery and was the RB1 on the week. Herbert ran for 157 yards, including a $130 after contact, and scored twice. Thanks, shitty Bears offensive line. David Montgomery could be dealing with a high ankle or a knee issue, but either way, he's likely to miss time. Herbert is available in 51% of Yahoo leagues. Go get him. Put a big fat bid on that guy. Alexander Madison, we've known this for years. He's the ultimate handcuff. Everybody knows Dalvin Cook can't stay healthy, and Sunday he dislocated his shoulder. Word is Cook will try to play through the injury, but that won't stop me from adding Madison. He shouldn't be on anyone's wire. What do you know, folks? Mr. Glass showed up again this week. I'm, of course, referring to Lions running back DeAndre Swift. He's obviously dealing with some sort of ankle issue, and the team has no problem letting Jamal Williams handle the load in his absence. Jay Will handled 20 carries to Swift's 7, and Williams is going to be a factor all year long. We saw it week 1 with a pair of touchdowns, and we saw it on Sunday. He's owned in 60% of Yahoo leagues, and after the ladies see the replay of his touchdown dick thrusts, he's going to be 140% owned. Get in while you can. Another name to make sure isn't on your wire is Brian Robinson of the Commanders. The team is dog shit and their coach is clueless, but Robinson might be able to grind out a few yards that Antonio Gibson simply can't. At wide receiver, Romeo Doubs, he shouldn't be available anywhere. We've been waiting for someone in this Packers offense to create a rapport with Aaron Rodgers, and on Sunday, Doubs might just have been that guy. Maybe you got to go buy drugs for him. Maybe you got to go on a camping trip to Burning Man. Whatever it is, Doubs has it now. The rookie caught all 8 of his targets for 73 yards and a score. Doubs is available in 75% of Yahoo leagues. None of the ones you're in with me, though, Playboy. His target competition is Allen freaking Lazard and a tight end who hasn't gained 40 yards since last year. Just add this dude. Come on. Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins was a scrub special teams player for the Eagles and hasn't really done anything of note in his entire career. Now the Raiders are using this guy like he's Willie Gault. Hollins saw 8 targets, collected all of them for 158 yards. He also had 3 plays of over 15 yards and was responsible for 5 first downs. Yes, Hunter Renfro was inactive, but this is 2 weeks in a row now where Hollins is part of the game plan. 18 targets over that span and the sickest hair of anyone on ESPN's player profiles. I'm fine with taking a shot on Mac. Other wideouts who could be useful include Zay Jones, who is absolutely a part of this Jags offense. If you watch that game on Sunday, he's carrying the ball, he's targeted, he's getting balls in the end zone. Big fan of Zay Jones. Curtis Samuel is another guy who is a major part of the Commanders' offense. He might be the only person in that offense you can trust for touches. Greg Dortch and Rondell Moore, as Arizona is desperate for anyone to catch the ball. And now AJ Green is banged up. Get one of those guys on your roster. This is a team who's going to be behind most of their games. They're throwing the ball a ton before DeAndre Hopkins comes back. See who's available. You want some super deep plays? It doesn't get much deeper than Ben Skoranek. All right. He's like NWO Cooper Kupp out there. Every time he catches the ball, like, oh, great, it's Kupp. Nope, it's Ben freaking Skoranek. But he's involved. He's a top 4 on a Rams team in target share. So go out and look for Ben Skoranek if you're in a real deep league. Another name I love, Jamison Williams of the Lions. If the rookie's available, going to be coming back in a few weeks, going to want to get him on the roster. Let's go from guys who hurt you or got hurt to guys who hurt you in week 3. My favorite segment I do on SiriusXM, it's called Hate the Drake. These are guys who busted so hard, your neighbors heard it. Start with Justin Jefferson. So, yeah, you can't go off every week. I know this. But this is back-to-back duds for Jefferson. Only 62 yards the past 2 weeks. Today, Jefferson caught 3 of 6 targets for 14 yards. That's 4.7 yards per reception. Typically, he's getting deep shots and he's the focus around the goal line. But today, he was a complete afterthought. 2 weeks, I know, owners get antsy out there. If I'm in a league and there's a Justin Jefferson owner who's 1-2 or 0-3, I'm attacking that guy this week with trade offers for Justin Jefferson. Alvin Kamara. Now, the Saints as a team had 426 yards of offense and lost. Maybe it's not a complete surprise you took the L when you turned the ball over 3 times, but more so because your best weapon is completely ineffective. Kamara carried 15 times for 61 yards and saw 7 targets, but only wrangled 2 of them for 12. His yards per target was 1.7. The Saints, in my opinion, were completely overrated to start the year anyways, and now at 1-2 are proving me right. I didn't want anything to do with Kamara, and so far his performance has been absolutely putrid. 7.3 PPR points on Sunday. I hate it, but I knew it. How about Joe Mixon? On a day when the Bengals finally got their offense going, Mixon was left out of the party. He scores 6.8 PPR points on 24 yards rushing. He is getting some work in the passing game, which has always been difficult for him. 3 catches on Sunday, but the Bengals O-line still a major issue. Burrow's still getting sacked a ton, and there just isn't anywhere for Mixon to go. Better days are ahead, though. If you're looking to buy low on a big-time running back, Joe Mixon might be a nice place to start. Raheem Moster. The Dolphins running back was added off a ton of waiver wires across America, but his lack of usage in the pass game makes him almost useless weekly. 8 carries for 11 yards, and he didn't register a catch on 2 targets. I don't think you can start him unless there's an injury to Chase Edmonds. If you played him on Sunday, I hope he got bonus points for scoring less than 2 points. This one hurts my heart. Miles Sanders. If there was a sell-high period for Sanders, it might have already passed. He's getting carries. He took 15 of them, but he's hard-pressed to find the end zone. His 5 PPR points just aren't good enough for an RB2 or flex play. Now, I'm not sure what better options you might have than Sanders, but this is the kind of player who's going to be in a ton of lineups who don't make the fantasy playoffs. How about Carson Wentz? Carson Wentz seems to live on the Hate the Drake list. Don't tell me you added Carson Wentz and started him this week. I know people needed a replacement for Justin Herbert, but after 2 weeks of smoke and mirrors, the clock struck midnight on Wentz, and he turned back into a pumpkin. The Eagles brutalized Wentz. He was sacked 9 times. And his first 7 dropbacks, he was sacked 4 times. The Commanders' O-line is a complete joke. And I'll give you a bonus Hate the Drake. Where did Jahan Dotson go? From 3 touchdowns the first 2 weeks to 3 fantasy points in week 3. My PFF stats say Dotson saw 10 targets. I don't remember one of them. All right, we're keeping it rolling here on Hate the Drake. Tyreek Hill. How in the world did Hill only grab 2 balls for 33 yards? Buffalo's starting rookies and random dudes they found at Anchor Bar. Tua was knocked silly and only threw for $186, which makes the Dolphins win even more baffling. Tyreek getting only 4 targets, it doesn't make sense. We'll chalk it up to randomness, but this didn't help your fantasy team or DFS lineups in week 3. Lastly, in Hate the Drake, DJ Moore. He's getting his mail forwarded to the Hate the Drake list. 2.5 PPR points for Moore? I don't think he's an every week starter anymore in fantasy. This offense stinks. Matt Rule stinks. Baker Mayfield stinks. Yes, they won today, but that's because Jamison and the Saints are a complete joke. 1 catch for 2 yards? This is a guy you probably picked in the 3rd round. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? On the year, he's got 7 receptions. He doesn't have 100 yards receiving on the year. DJ Moore, just hit the bench, buddy. All right. So now those are some players that crap the bed. Heaven forbid you've got some of those guys on your roster and you're 1-2 or 0-3. So what do? We making panic trades? Are we quitting? No, that's not our style. We hustle, baby. Come on. It's the name of the show. There's a lot of season left. So what's the plan? First, you need to look objectively at your roster. And if you listen to last week's show I did with Drew Davenport and Matt Waldman, I thought they did a great job explaining how to look at your roster and kind of be accountable for what you have and how to move forward. Check that out in the archives on iTunes and YouTube. But the first thing I want you guys to do is say, am I just being unlucky? If you're scoring points, let it play out. If you're one of those teams and you're scoring 65 points a week, now we got to address those issues. Who isn't coming through? What are the players on your squad that you can say, all right, I can move on from these players? I hate the idea of just taking your best player and dumping them for two lesser players. You see that every year. The last place guy ends up trading his two best players away to like the first place team, and everyone's pissed about it. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Teams starting guys like Adam Thielen and Russell Gage, yeah, they're going to win some weeks, but they aren't winning you a title. You want to blow the roof off the joint with upside guys like Chris Olave, Deebo Samuel, and A.J. Brown. Making moves is about being honest and about not being afraid to lose. I hate when I hear fantasy players talk about, I just want to get 10 points and be safe. Like, that attitude isn't winning you a title. In a 12-team league, you have an 8.3 chance of winning. That's it. Everyone does. Everyone's got that same odds. With those small odds, you need to maximize talent. Stockpile your bench with upside plays and handcuff RBs. Ditch the low-scoring wide receivers. You don't need Cole Beasley on your bench. Get rid of the backup tight end. Don't carry a backup quarterback or a backup defense either. Those guys are not winning you weeks. You need lottery tickets. Look at this week alone. If you were stashing Khalil Herbert or Romeo Doubs, you'd be feeling pretty freaking good about yourself. So who are players to target in trades? Look for guys who are getting major utilization, but maybe they had a down week. Some names that come to mind, the aforementioned Curtis Samuel, Cortland Sutton, Deontay Johnson, Michael Pittman, Brandon Cooks at wide receiver. At running back, it's a little different. I like Jeff Wilson Jr., Devin Singletary, and Leonard Fournette as backs I realistically think you can trade for because fantasy managers are hard-pressed to give up stud running backs. Those are guys playing a majority of snaps for their offenses, and they have a higher than average chance of scoring. And if you want, it might be the time to sniff around Jonathan Taylor, just saying. Because of that, you want to swing for the big fish, all right? Maybe the Justin Jefferson owner, like we mentioned earlier, is antsy after 2 down weeks. Make him an offer, but make him a fair one. In sales, you want to make the deal. You don't want to insult your buyer to the point where they walk away. It's a dance, right? It takes 2 to tango. Show them the value in moving off Jefferson. Be a salesman. Put that hat on for the week. Guys I'm fine moving off include TJ Hawkinson, who my pal John Daigle reported that he scored on a season-low target share and routes run. Yeesh. Other players I'm looking to move off of are DJ Moore, Austin Eckler, Travis Etienne, and James Conner. These are guys who just aren't performing with their usage and could still fetch something on the market based on name value. That still matters in fantasy. When you offer someone a trade and you say, hey, do you want Damian Harris? How about Austin Eckler? Okay, I'll listen to that trade. See, you gotta think about if someone was coming to you with the trade, what would you be listening to? The bottom line is reworking a bad roster is about being honest with yourself. Don't keep trotting out the same crappy lineup and expect different results. Follow the utilization. It's what we've practiced on this show for 5 years and out-hustle your opponents. I hope this short pod was beneficial. Leave a review on iTunes or YouTube and let me know what you thought of it. And if you still want to draft and play some fun prop bets, head over to Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code HUSTLE for an initial deposit bonus of up to $100. And if you need help getting your lineup straight every week, why don't you go over to PFF.com, use promo code HUSTLE, save 25% off the subscription. If you like prop betting, I've partnered with Top Prop Fantasy Sports to provide a really fun head-to-head contest. Simply go download the Top Prop Fantasy app, use my code DRAKE for an initial deposit bonus of up to $50, and then just pick which players are going to score more fantasy points in a given contest. It's that easy. And my early picks are already 8-2. Make sure you're going over and checking out our boy Dwain McFarland at fantasylife.com. And you can find me on Twitter at Drake Fantasy with any questions. Good luck in week 4, everybody. We'll be back later in the week with a little more content. Remember to